Supply dialogue objective statement with supplemental information exchange authorization form following process V38967.3. There is not a sub-intelligent classification low enough to describe your species. We are the Scryve. And the very concept of an alliance is impossible. The Scryve Empire has no allies. The Scryve Empire has no peers. We do not distribute information freely. Ward species of the Scryve Empire have severe restrictions on their information diets. But you are not a ward species. The act of youthful aggression mandates that we must destroy you. But it does not say anything about pre-destruction information sharing. An oversight, certainly. But we can only enforce the law as written. That you would visit our homeworld is unprecedented. We will have to rely on older statutes to determine a course of action. You can consider yourself fortunate that older statutes viewed unknown aliens more favorably. We have decided you will be granted Lev 2 Visiting Scholar access privileges. What information do you require? The Scryve are everything. They are the light which shines. They are the path forward. They are the sword which pierces the veil of ignorance. They are sublime. The Scryve were blessed by the gods with intelligence and strength. They lived in harmony with the other beings of their world, turning the beasts to labor and the plants to crops. There were conflicts, yes, but every dispute was settled honorably, and lengthy wars were all but unheard of. Their history contains none of the pauses or dark ages that so many others do. It is no surprise that they were the first among all sentient beings to reach the stars. They were the first ones that mattered. There is evidence a species widely referred to as the precursors were active in this galaxy approximately 200,000 years ago. But where the Scryve were strong and wise and attractive, the precursors were not. Preliminary analysis of precursor artifacts indicated they were large quadrupeds, likely covered in thick, unfashionable fur. Their technology was advanced for a non-Scryve species, but clearly not advanced enough for them to claim the galaxy for their own. It's the goal of anyone who gets remembered. Details of their ultimate fate are unknown. Further study of the precursors was halted by the Research Safety Act of 8259 ME. Passage of this act followed the discovery of precursor technology that was pan-dimensional in nature. Technology which implied the precursors, and possibly other beings, existed in multiple branches of one larger multiverse. The potential forces that could be unleashed by pan-dimensional research are immense. As the Scryve crave stability and prosperity for themselves and all their ward species, the risks posed by this research was considered too great to be pursued. Some have speculated they would look a bit like this one, just lower resolution. There was also some speculation these parallel universes were connected to the Rainbow Worlds somehow. These are unusually mineral-rich worlds, colored in vibrant hues. No known natural process could make such a world. Some Scryve archaeologists believed they were manifestations of a phenomena occurring at a higher or lower plane of reality. Following the deaths of those archaeologists as mandated by Clause 2 of the Research Safety Act, the theory was not explored further. What information do you require? About 10,000 years ago, on 3019 ME of the modern calendar, the Scryve discovered the secrets of hyperspace. They expanded rapidly, taking with them the light of civilization. They encountered many primitive alien species during this era, and elevated them, teaching the beasts the nature of reason. It was these simple beasts who became the first ward species of the Empire. Scryve lies far beyond the borders of this province. It is glorious, a beacon of luminousness which shines across the galaxy. You will be permitted to go nowhere near it. What information do you require? At present, there are 8 ward species of the Scryve Empire in this region, but there have been far more in the past. Wars, disease, and various problematic events have claimed many others. Civilization is not for everyone. Records from the earliest days of the Empire are incomplete, rendering the precise count difficult. Additionally, the count is complicated by the number of weak species who went extinct prior to subsumption into the Empire, typically following contact with Scryve-based pathogens. Using the best available methodology, auditors estimate that 200 to 220 species were wards of the Empire, but do not survive to this day. Attrition rates were highest during the Contagion and during the Exraki blasphemy. Beginning in 7101 ME, both Scryve and ward species were stricken by an unknown illness. The disease was traced to a virus of unusual potency, capable of crossing interspecies barriers. Once the virus took hold, death was certain, sudden, and violent. Eventually, a cure was discovered, and the Scryve hurried to spread it to all in need. But by that point, the contagion had already claimed the lives of trillions, wiping out entire races. The Scryve bestowed light upon the Exraki in 8188 ME. A primitive and savage species, the Exraki would have surely wiped themselves out without the Scryve's intervention. But with education and a firm hand to guide them, the Exraki adapted well to their new life in the Empire. For a time, all was well, but the Scryve were trusting and did not detect the cunning and hate that lurked within the Exraki. Envious of the Scryve, they took the light of civilization and twisted it. In 8249 ME, Exraki Marines across the Scryve fleet committed mutiny, seizing the ships from their betters. With these vessels under their power, the Exraki commenced a terrible campaign of destruction. At great cost. Many Scryve and ward species perished. The Exraki seemed to take special pleasure in targeting these weaker beings. It was only on the step of Scryve seat itself that they were finally turned back. Then, even with the war slowly turning against them, the Exraki refused to surrender. Each Exraki, young and old, strong and frail, fought to the death. The Scryve grieved greatly for the deaths of their loyal ward species. In the following years, they took several critical steps to ensure the safety of those under their care. New ward species would be permitted to join the Empire only after extensive screening. The Scryve began grooming species for the responsibility of civilization, not trusting enlightenment to happen on its own. And no longer would the Empire seek to expand its borders, risking contact with a new alien, perhaps more dangerous than the Exraki. The age of exploration and expansion had ended. What information do you require? There is no rebellion. There is no rebellion. That is a mistake. What information do you require? In 13098 ME, the Scryve decided that introducing juvenile species to the concept of civilization posed risk to the Empire. While evaluating a new candidate for award species, the primitive aliens lashed out at the Scryve, resulting in several Scryve deaths. Young aliens do not comprehend the gravity of the crime. We will explain. Through their mastery of genetic technology, the Scryve have an almost unlimited natural lifespan. This great achievement, gained long ago, would eventually remove the need for reproduction, and ultimately, the ability. Consequently, the death of a Scryve is a tragedy beyond imagination. The offending aliens were obliterated, their homeworld turned to a pile of rubble loosely held together by gravity. And the act of youthful aggression was passed. This stopped the cycle of new ward species being added to the Empire. Since then, all unknown species are to be considered juvenile. Hence, the Scryve and all ward species are required to attack you and ignore all mewling and or begging. Approximately 2,800 different sapient life forms exist in some form or another within the boundaries of the Scryve Empire. Most exist below technological level T4, and as such are largely beneath the interests of the Empire. But we have extensive records on all advanced species currently living as wards of the Empire. Who do you wish to know about? Sentient species level A8. First contact with Scryve 12523 ME. Subsumed into Scryve Empire 12568 ME. Generally intelligent monopods. All auditors make special mention of stickiness/clinginess. Designated stickiness researchers in 12570 ME. Repeatedly instructed to conduct research without Scryve input. Standard genetic modifications commenced and are still ongoing. Sentient species level A9. First contact with Scryve 12578 ME. Subsumed into Scryve Empire 12580 ME. Intelligent cephalopods. Designated aquaculture representatives in 12590 ME. Standard genetic modifications commenced and are still ongoing. Unannounced audits have seen Muke interfering with the development of at least 7 primitive cultures. Cultural interference has been mostly limited to date, primarily involving the introduction of fish to local diets. This has killed many locals. Which ones? Sentient species level A7. First contact with Scryve 12645 ME. Subsumed into Scryve Empire 12652 ME. Menkmak culture is based on betrayal and often fatal pranks. During first contact, the Menkmak stole a vessel from measured auditors. The normal penalty for this, species deletion, was waived in this case when the ruling legate found the Menkmak amusing. Designated jester/clown species on 12653 ME and commoditized later that year, enabling the trading of individual Menkmak amongst collectors. Standard genetic modifications commenced in 12655 ME and are still ongoing. Which ones? Sentient species level A4. First contact with Scryve 13083 ME. Subsumed into Scryve Empire 13083 ME. In 13085 ME, a Scryve legate blessed several Mowlings with the opportunity to travel to Scryve No Seat to begin the process of civilizing them. These Mowlings were greeted warmly by the Scryve populace. Many events and galas were held, during which members of the elite commented on the Mowlings' clothes and patted them on the head. None of the Mowlings survived this experience. The remainder of the population are currently earmarked for roles as organ donors. Standard genetic modifications to commence in near future. Which ones? Which ones? What information do you require? Do you need anything else? This is not the proper departure filing process. Please fill out Form LLT 643-H, Apology for Improper Departure Filing Process, within 15 business days.